value-based debate that assess the principles that should govern a course of action, either as individuals or community. This style of debate invites students to examine the values behind big ideas and consequences. Our 16th president, who knows who that is? Anybody?
We did.
Good job! Our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. You have to be bold. Not only left his mark on the executive branch of a strife-torn government, he also eloquently and powerfully debated his rival, Stephen Douglas. The debates are named after those two statesmen. In Challenge 2, students are tasked with viewing, learning, discussing, and contemplating the truth, beauty, and goodness of art. Both. I'm totally distracted, my own child. From medieval to modern. Through our literature, students ponder and consider what is heroic, virtuous, and noble. What are you doing? It is with these things in mind that our students have tackled the following resolution. Rescuing great cultural and artistic achievements from theft or destruction is worth risking one's lives. And with that, I will pass it over to our affirmative.
Are the judges ready?
Yes.
Is the timer ready? Is the timer ready? Okay. Quote, saving art is worth a human life because it means saving our ability to document our history, maintain our identity, and preserve our culture through time. Art provides a personal and emotional perspective on history that allows us to understand others' experiences as humans. It is a primary source that serves as proof of the humanity of others across time and cultures. What is more valuable than that? End quote. Amalia Abekis' JewishJournal.com. Life as we know it has been built upon the struggles and strengths of humanity, all of which has been embedded in every culture in its own unique way. But without the proper access to the history of our world, where are we to turn to for answers? Every single cultural and artistic achievement carries an important message to all groups of people. But to say that art has no effect on humanity and its cultures is completely false. If it were true, then what could have possibly led hundreds of people to risk their lives to rescue these great cultural achievements from complete and total destruction? The answer is simple. They valued cultural heritage because they understood that humanity would be lost without it. Good morning. My name is Abigail Arias, and I stand for the resolution rescuing great cultural and artistic achievements from theft or destruction is worth risking one's own life. Observation 1, definitions. Rescuing, to free or deliver from confinement, danger, or difficulty. Source, dictionary.com. Cultural achievements. Cultural achievements refers to the advancements and contributions made by a civilization in areas such as art, literature, philosophy, science, and technology. These accomplishments often have a lasting impact on society. Source, library.bible.me. Destruction, the action or process of destroying something. Source, Merriam-Webster. Risking, to venture upon, take, or run the chance of. Source, dictionary.com. Observation 2, value. My value is heritage. Our heritage is extremely important to society because it connects us to the past, it shapes our identity, and helps us improve as a society to create a better tomorrow. Observation 3, criterion. The criterion we will use to measure heritage is protecting its legacy. In order to preserve heritage, we must be willing to protect its legacy from harm. Otherwise, we risk losing valuable scientific, historical, and cultural information about the history of our world. Observation 4, contentions. Contention 1. Many people have risked their lives to protect the legacy of heritage. Quote, during the last years of World War II, Allied forces made a concerted effort to protect artworks, archives, and monuments of historical and cultural significance as they advanced across Europe. They also worked during the war and after the German surrender to secure artworks looted by the Nazis and restitute them to their rightful owners. Approximately 345 men and women from 13 nations were charged with this task. End quote. Source, medmuseum.org. Impact, 345 individuals put their very lives on the line because they understood the value of preserving the legacy of heritage. Contention 2. Protecting the legacy of heritage brings peace and freedom to those who were stolen from it. Quote, if Italian cities today looked as beautiful as they do, that is thanks to the Monuments Officers campaign. What jubilant Florentines shouted when their artworks re-entered the city expresses what the whole of Italy owes the Venus fixtures. Grazie. End source. End quote, sorry. Source, SmithsonianMag.com. Impact. Saving the heritage of a nation brings its people peace and restores broken societies. Contention 3. Humanity's entire identity comes from the history of our heritage. Quote, cultural property is important to the dignity and identity of people, and they should have access to it to learn about their past. End quote. Source, scholarship.law.vanderbilt.edu. Impact, people need the history of their culture and heritage in order to form a strong identity that will not be shaken. In conclusion, I have shown you how valuable heritage is to our society and how it affects our humanity. I have recognized the many who willingly risk their lives to save countless cultural achievements for the preservation of heritage and how... Sorry. Okay. Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
There's a microphone for you, right?
1 minute, right?
There's a microphone for you, right?
Your third. What was the third convention again? Humanity's entire identity comes from the history of our heritage. Okay. What was your second one? My second one was protecting the legacy of heritage brings peace and freedom to those who were stolen from it. Okay.
Why is your value more important to consider than a human life? What's more important?
Because heritage is what gives meaning and direction to human life, to society. It gives us a sense of purpose and belonging and a reason to live.
Okay. What evidence did you use to prove that this moral compass is valid?
I used several articles from websites of museums.
liberty. You ready? Vincent van Gogh once said, "The more I think it over, the more I feel that there is nothing more truly artistic than to love people." End quote. Since the beginning of time, humans have fought to preserve life. Our existence has always been a priority. We read about cavemen fighting wild animals to survive. Even when there is a natural disaster like earthquakes and hurricanes, we see that our focus is on saving lives. We have always valued life and loved it, so why should it be different now? Good morning, my name is Vitoria, and I stand against the resolution rescuing great cultural and artistic achievements from temporary destruction is worth risking one's life. I gladly accept the affirmative definition. So, the affirmative value is heritage, cultural heritage, but I propose that human life is a higher value. The criterion we will use to measure human life is its worthiness. The value of everything is determined by people, therefore what establishes great cultural and artistic achievements is man. For this reason, preserving one's life is worthier than risking it for the sake of art and culture. In negating the resolution, I offer the following contentions. Contention 1. It is by preserving life that we protect culture and art. Quote, "A nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the souls of its people." Gandhi. End quote. When we protect human life, we automatically protect culture because it is within us. Culture is made up of art, among other things. So when we protect culture, we also protect art. Okay,
You have 3 minutes left.
3 minutes. Contention number 2. Cultural and artistic achievements without men have no great impact on society. Imagine an old man who has just bought an old and abandoned house. As the man was cleaning his new home, he found a really beautiful painting. He liked it so much that he decided to hang it on his wall. Time passed and the painting stayed on the same wall. After all, it is just an ordinary painting made by an ordinary man. It has no value or worth to society. Now let's consider the Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. The painting is in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and it costs about $100 million. Now I ask you, what is the difference between the first painting and Van Gogh's Starry Night? Isn't it its value and worth? But who decided that the Starry Night was so valuable? One day, a man saw its potential and decided to bet on it. The man gave the painting value. Now it hangs in a famous museum where many people can admire it and be inspired by it. But if that one man had not seen it as an incredible painting, what would have become of it? Probably nothing. It is people who give meaning to art, culture, and everything else. If there isn't a person to give meaning to art and culture, then it won't have any meaning at all. The affirmative said that many people have risked their lives for heritage, for cultural heritage. But I say that cultural heritage could be easily manipulated or changed by time or people. So how do we know that what we are fighting for is actually true? Quote, "History is a version of past events that people have decided to agree upon." End quote, Napoleon Bonaparte. If a lie is big enough if a lie is big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. So we see that cultural heritage can easily be manipulated or changed. So we cannot risk a human's life over something that can be manipulated or changed. Art and culture are important, but they are not worth risking one's life for. We love art, but we cannot put it above life. Protecting life is the only way to protect art and culture. We are the ones who give meaning and worth to everything. Art and culture can be replaced, but what can replace a life? For these reasons, I urge the judges to reject the resolution. Rescuing great cultural achievements and artistic achievements from temporary destruction is worth risking one's life. Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
Are the judges ready?
Yeah.
Is the timer ready?
Is it?
Will you please repeat your criterion?
My criterion was human life, was measuring human life by its worthiness.
Measuring human life by
Its worthiness.
its what?
Worthiness.
What was your second criterion?
I didn't have a second one.
Oh, you didn't have a second?
No, just
What was your first one?
worthiness.
Okay. So measuring human life by its worthiness. Okay. What evidence did you use to claim that that it was not valid? What evidence did you use to claim that it was not valid?
What was not valid?
The opposing the
I'm gonna ask for halftime. Are the judges ready?
are the judges ready? Timer? The timer?
Is your timer?
Quote, obliterating cultural heritage allows the enemy to orphan future generations and severely damage their understanding of who they are as people, end quote. Mark V. Vlasic and Helga Turku. My opponent's value says human life. My opponent's value is human life, of course. But heritage is more valuable than human life because without human life, where would humans find their meaning and purpose? Who they are as people. Heritage gives us a sense of belonging and reminds us of those who came before us and the discoveries that have been made. The most important things that make up our society come from our heritage. It's a fact. My opponent also says that we must measure human life by its worthiness. But protecting the legacy of heritage is extremely vital if we are to save the backbone of society and the history of the world. My opponent claims that people give meaning to culture, but I say the opposite. cultural heritage gives meaning to human life. They also said that heritage can be manipulated, but my arguments still remain valid because of the accounts of the bravery of human lives in the contentions that I stated, and how their understanding of a strong, real connection that these individuals had to cultural heritage, and also to society, to the point where they were willing to bet their lives on it. These people that risk their lives to save great cultural and artistic achievements, such as the Monuments Men, understood that without cultural heritage, human life would not survive, and society would fall apart, because that is our foundation. Our foundation and the things that we know in our lives all are rooted from heritage. In conclusion, I ask the judges to affirm the resolution. Rescuing great culture and artistic achievements from theft or destruction is worth risking one's life. Thank you.
We need prep music. Dun, 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 Jeopardy. Inspector Gadget. Yep. It's not working.
Okay. My name is Vitoria, and I stand against the resolution rescuing great cultural and artistic achievements from theft or destruction worth risking one's life. Well, the key points of disagreement between me and the affirmative is that cultural and artistic heritage is more important than a human life. But I stick to the point that nothing is more important than a human life. It is us human beings that make a culture and give worthiness to it. We measure its meaning and how it's going to affect us in the future. What would be heritage without people? So, without people to live to it. So, timer? Is the timer?
I got it.
Okay. Okay. The affirmative claims that heritage tells us who we are, but heritage is within us. So actually, we say what heritage actually is and what's important in society. So, a human life is way more important than heritage. We are the ones that make it worthy of everything. So yeah, I stick to the resolution that I do not think that cultural heritage is worth risking one's life. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Prep time?
Good job.
Time to wake up again.
Are the judges ready? Is the timer ready? Quote, societies and individuals are attached to their cultural heritage, which helps define their identity and contribute to their self-esteem. The purposeful actions of non-state armed groups, militants, despotic governments, or invading armies and attacking tangible and intangible cultural heritage inflict losses that far exceed their physical destruction. Such actions are akin to cultural and social genocide. End quote. James Kuno and Thomas G. Weiss. My opponent believes that nothing is important than human life, and that people would be nothing without it. That heritage is within us, and that we are the people who control it. But I believe that it is still worth risking human life to save art because of the sole fact alone that it connects us to our past and determines our identity as human beings. It also provides us the proper knowledge. It also provides society the proper knowledge to create a better tomorrow and a better future for future generations. Once again, heritage is quite literally the backbone of our society, but it ultimately defines what we make ourselves out to be in this world. Like I said it before, our cultural heritage gives us more depth and meaning to our existence. It shapes who we are. The future of humanity depends on whether or not we choose to preserve the past. It's just the truth. A human choosing to risk their life to save cultural achievement of great value is actively protecting its legacy by doing so. If a society refuses to consider a person choosing to risk their life to rescue a cultural achievement of great significance not worth doing so, then they are preying upon themselves an inevitable cultural and social genocide and are also supporting the eradication of the history of our world. In conclusion, I ask that the judges affirm the resolution. Rescuing great cultural and artistic achievements from theft or destruction is worth risking one's life. Thank you.